welcome to Toni Time. We have one of our family members back, Israel Skelton.
Skelton, I'm sorry.
Skelton.
Yeah.
Oh, I like skeleton.
I know. I know.
Here's Israel again.
You want to do it?
It just adds a flavor of
I know.
mystery.
Well, you know, seriously, it's one of those things where it's like, and I don't help matters by making it a play on the studio name.
I know.
Right?
Well, yeah. And I just think because when I tell people your name the way I tell it, it's like, really? And I love that reaction. So as you remember from our past shows with Israel, we have some new product for you to see. We're very much into Harry Potter and Chew. And so why don't you take it away and tell us what you got?
Sure. So what I brought today is we're actually doing this new line. We work with a lot of independent comic books, and everything from Hellboy to Lock and Key to Chew to Mouse Guard, a bunch of really wonderful, great comic books. And we do a lot of different materials, from a lot of different products, from plush to statues to metal pieces and all that stuff. But what I brought today is our new line of resin minibus.
Wow, look at this.
That's Tony Chew from a comic book. Well, it's Chew, and he's
Right.
he's what you call a cybopath. So
A what?
A cybopath.
What's that?
So everything he eats, he gets a psychic impression from.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so the only thing that he doesn't get a second impression from is beets. So that's why he's kind of in that stylized beet can and being raised up out of beet juice. That's his base.
How cool.
So he works for the FDA in this comic universe, and chicken is illegal because there was a big chicken pandemic and it's killed billions of people. So now chicken's illegal in this story, and he kind of goes around trying to focus in and try to solve crimes, but
So he's a good guy.
he is a good guy. And
Okay.
like I said, he gets a psychic impression from everything he eats. So if a body is found, you know, he's not opposed to taking a bite out of it for the better good.
For the
you know.
better good of
Yeah.
mankind.
Yeah, to kind of track down how this person lived and died.
He's one hell of a guy.
He is.
He is.
He is. He is. Also from the same book is we have Pollo.
He's a chicken.
He is a rooster that'll slice you open. Like he has killed hundreds of thousands of people, you know, and now he works with the FDA, and he's one of their mascots / top agents.
And
So,
he's a good guy?
he is a good guy too.
Okay.
Yeah, this piece is sold out. This is our first kind of foray into the minibus statuary, and then along came Toni, and Toni, we just sold the last piece yesterday.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and Bodhi is in the works. Bodhi's being produced right now.
And this is Harry Potter.
Nope, that's
Oh,
Lock
no.
and Key.
That's Lock and Key.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is Bodhi from Lock and Key,
Okay.
and that's actually written. That's written by Joe Hill, who does a lot of work in the horror novel world. He's written Horns, which, speaking of Harry Potter, starred Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. He's written Heart-Shaped Box, Nosferatu, and his new book, The Fireman, just hit the book stands a couple months back, and it's
He's cool.
And The Fireman actually debuted, I believe, at number one. At number one on the New York
really?
Times bestsellers list. Yeah, yeah.
Now here's the book, everybody, so they can see. I love the black and white.
Yeah, yeah.
Black, white, and gray.
Gabe. I work real close with Joe and Gabe, and they're super good friends, and they're amazing. But Gabe's art is
The
to die for.
artwork is just.
Yeah.
Show a little bit of the artwork here. Whoop.
No worries. Yeah, he is. He's amazing. He is. Gabe is amazing, and one of the nicest guys to work in comic books.
Wow.
You know? I mean, I work with a lot of great, nice guys in comics.
See, I mean, that's
Yeah, you know, right? Because
I know.
Because that industry, I think if you're working in comic books, because there's not a lot of there's not a lot of like fame and accolades. Like if you
No.
could be like you could be like one of the top comic book artists in the world, and you walk down the street and no one's going to recognize
No,
you.
no.
And I mean, and even being the top comic book artist in the world, you're lucky if you don't have a mortgage, right?
Exactly.
It's not like a super lucrative thing.
No, it's not.
You know?
You do it for the love of the business.
You do. That's exactly it. So that's what I find is that people who work in comics are just generally glad and so appreciative of being able to do what they want to do.
Yeah,
You know, and
exactly.
it's amazing. It really is. I mean, and it makes you appreciate. It really kind of makes you stop and appreciate, like, you know, like that's kind of why I do it. I mean,
You do. I mean, everything you do, you have a love for that company, that product, that.
Yeah, that's my rule. That's my studio rule. Is if I kind of look at it like a relationship because it is a relationship.
Yeah, it is.
But I look at it as like a relationship with a significant other, right? So if you're in a relationship with someone who you don't think is your it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're in a relationship with someone that you don't see yourself married to,
Right.
why
waste the
why
time?
waste? Because really,
Yeah.
you're wasting their time and you're wasting your time.
Yeah.
You know, because their perfect person is out there someplace.
Right.
Right. The person who's going to cherish them and love them is out there someplace. So I hearken that back right to the company. You know, if there's a property out there and I'm not, if I'm not in love with it, there's someone else out there who's going
Yeah.
to be a perfect fit for you, who is going to go to the nines, who's going to
True.
you know, put everything they got into it, because you put everything you have into a piece, getting the angles just right, making sure, you know, the cheeks are just right, everything, all the nuances, you know, I mean, especially.
Lots of detail.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
There is. It's not like it's Batman where it's like, okay, the guy has a cape and a mask and
Yeah.
ears and it's Batman, you know. But the properties that we work with, and another another thing with like Batman or Superman or Spider-Man, like you're dealing with 75 years of history.
Yes, you are.
You know, with a lot of those guys, and thousands of artists who have put their pen to Superman.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh,
Right.
absolutely.
So when you're making a Superman piece, it's not like you're making like you know, a John Burns Superman or a George Perez Superman. You're making you know, you have a lot of history, so there's a lot to pull from. When the books that I work on, there's only one artist.
Yeah.
There's one writer, there's one artist.
So you have consistency.
Yes, but there's a higher standard
Yeah.
because there's one artist lines to hit. You know,
Right.
you can't say, okay, here's Superman, and Superman, you know, the spectrum of Superman is huge.
And it
you
has
know?
changed a bit.
Oh, a lot. You know, from 1938 to now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of Superman to kind of draw and pull from to make a Superman piece. And that spectrum is a lot narrower when it comes to the stuff that I work with.
Oh, you know what I could never understand at Marvel Comics because I was up there so much.
Yeah.
They would have a lot of freelance artists.
Yep.
Drawing Spider-Man, drawing Dr. Doom or
Yep.
whatever. When you have so many of those people, they have to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
They have to do the same
Yep.
thing.
Yeah, they do. Those reins were loosened a little bit in the late 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
But in the early days of Marvel, you're right. It's like, we want you to draw like Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Like Jack Kirby. We have a lot of our customer base really likes Jack Kirby and his style, and we want you to draw like him. And that was a big thing in the 60s.
yeah.
All these guys, like, you need to draw like Jack Kirby. And a lot of guys could do it, and some guys, you know, were like, I don't
do it.
draw like Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
So the 80s really kind of opened up this new world. It was weird and it was kind of exciting, but you had your Sienkiewicz's who brought this painted feel to Marvel Comics. You had your Walt Simonsons and your Frank Millers who kind of brought these different takes, and they were and the fans embraced them. And Marvel and DC kind
Yeah.
of took note. It was like, oh, so it doesn't have to be like classically drawn comic. It can be a kind of an outlier, if you will, and fans still respond really, really nicely to it. And that was almost a segue to some of the almost the independent comics, really.
True.
Is that because guys who drew like Sam Keith or even Ben Templesmith now, who are outliers as far as their style, are still brought in the fold, and it's pretty great. Comics is an amazing world to work in.
It's yeah. I mean, I grew to love the comic book art.
Oh yeah, me too.
I mean, I love comic book art. I love graffiti, good graffiti.
Yes, yeah. I
I would love to have my house painted in graffiti.
I'm a collector of comic art, original comic art, and that's
Yeah.
a dangerous bug to be bitten by.
Oh, it is. It is.
I am very lucky to have a lot of friends who work in the industry, and cut me amazing deals, even though they don't have to.
Right, but still.
Oh yeah.
I mean, this is going to be an ongoing thing you're going to have for your children.
Yeah, and they're original pieces. It's not like
Yeah.
one of 10
No.
or one of 100. There's one. There's one of one. That's it. There's one of these. It's one of this cover, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty awesome. But again, when you kind of dip your toes in that water, you're dealing with people who also have a love of comic books with a lot higher disposable income than I have.
Oh, exactly. Exactly. I mean, in fact, we were just talking about before the show started, Israel has his company. So he is the company. He lives and breathes it. Plus, he has a family, which
Yeah.
you devote time to.
Oh yeah. The kids, the family comes first. I mean, I'm very lucky. We're very lucky to kind of work with a lot of people that are amazing.
Yeah.
All right. So we work with a lot of amazing creators. We work with a lot of amazing sculptors. The level of stuff that I sculpt personally has taken a real decline over the years, just
Right.
because it takes a lot to kind of keep all the balls in the air.
It's a lot.
You know? It is a lot. It's like when you're dealing with manufacturing, you're dealing with tweaking sculpts, and we're doing a lot of digital sculpt these days. But it's stuff that doesn't require me to be in the shop. Like I'm not sculpting clay, and I'm not in the shop, so that I can kind of do what I'm doing, like tweaking digital sculpts. I can do that. A lot of times from home at night.
Right,
know?
exactly.
And it's like, and my kids are there, so it's like,
Well,
yeah.
question. So, if you see this come through and it's not right, the cheeks are not right or whatever.
Oh, from the sculptor, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and you're looking at this and you're going, something is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of.
Yeah.
That's the difference between someone like me and. Because I'm wired different, and I know I'm wired different.
Well, you have to be.
Almost, right?
Yeah.
So I see things in 3 dimensions always. So even 2-dimensional art, I always pop it and I rotate it. And it took me a long time to realize that people don't do that, right?
No, they
People
don't.
see like stuff that I see
No.
it. So like someone else maybe will say something's wrong, it doesn't look right, but they can't tell you what it is.
What it is.
They just know it doesn't look right.
Right.
They can't tell you what's wrong or what needs to be fixed. And that's what I'm better at than some, right?
So, when you see it not right,
Yeah.
can you zero in on, okay, the cheeks are off
Yeah.
or
Yeah,
the
that's-
nose is off? But
yeah.
you see that.
Yeah, I
Because
see.
you see in 3
Yeah,
dimensions.
because I see in 3 dimensions. I can
Right.
say because like especially with a face, the nose will impact how the cheeks look.
Yeah.
And it has a cascade effect, if you will, or a ripple effect that by just tweaking this, you're going to change how this whole face looks, or whatever. And with a lot of sculptors, they're wired much like me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The majority of sculptors are wired just like me. They see things the way I see things. So the subtle tweaks or whatever are welcomed. They're like, oh yeah,
course.
you're completely right. Something was off. You just put a second set of eyes on it. Or a lot of times, quite frankly, it's like perfect. Like this is exactly kind of what I had envisioned.
See, yeah, and that is a gift for sure.
Yeah, I guess I think you have to realize, especially if you're working in any industry, like where you bring the most to the table.
Exactly.
Right? So like my time, I could spend my time at a bench, sculpting clay and doing that stuff, and then have my production rate be so slow because I'm not a fast sculptor.
Yeah.
I'm slow, and I'm a traditional sculptor. I'm not a digital sculptor, And a lot of stuff we're doing these days is digital.
I know.
I
know.
So it's like, no joke. Last night, I pulled the trigger on a new sculptor for digital sculpt, and within 5 hours, he had something in my inbox.
Wow.
Yep, it was a smaller piece. It was a key, but 5 hours, right? So I couldn't do that piece in 5 hours. I couldn't because there's so much that goes into it. There's if you have to, because some pieces, especially like a small key, it's metal and clay and all this other stuff. So I have to wait for stuff to set up, all this other stuff that digital sculpt doesn't need to. It's like boop, 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 and it's done.
Now, how do you work with China? I mean,
Yep.
when you need to get your point across about an item or whatever.
Oh, say, well, I'm not saying that things don't get lost in translation, but I've become pretty adept over the past few years of really explaining myself well enough to get the results I need.
Yeah.
I guess that's the trick, because there is a huge language barrier.
Oh, definitely.
And
And they're so far away where you can't get in the car and run over.
I can't get in the car and run over, exactly. So we're doing this via via email and image. If I can kind of show image, I just try to be very, very, very concise.
Now, is this a company you worked with a lot, or?
Yeah, with our manufacturers, we have several different manufacturers we work with, and I think part of it too is, like, especially in the beginning years ago when we first started taking product overseas, is that they get a feel for who you are, and I'm pretty unwavering, right?
Yeah.
Because there are some people like, oh, that looks great, and it's like I'm just not that guy.
No.
I'm the guy who's like, no. This needs to change, and this needs to change, and that's not the paint color I told you.
Right.
So I mean, I'm that guy. I'm the guy who's pretty unrelenting. I try to warn people too, like even sculptors we work with, like I'm that, like the guy that you kind of read about, like I'm that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm not trying.
Perfectionist.
It is, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, and I'm not
No.
trying to, and I hope I don't come off that way, but I let people know, like I have a pretty high standard, because that's really kind of where we have to compete,
But that's why you're successful.
I guess.
Because you have a high standard and you won't let anything go out the front door.
No, because you know why? Because everything has my name on it.
Yeah.
And it's not Pleasant Hill Studios.
No.
You know what I'm saying? It's not like there's some level of ambiguity. No, my name goes on every piece.
Right. So that's important when and nowadays with people checking on companies and Googling whatever, that's really, really important.
Yeah, I want like I said, it's. And there's another thing too, like there's so few things that we can compete on, and especially in this kind of this collectible marketplace, we can't compete on price for someone who's making Mickey Mouse stuff, because your units alone, you're gonna sell so many units that your price point is gonna drive right down.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So we can't compete on price. What we can compete on is quality.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I want people to, get my pieces and be like, this looks great. This feels great. This feels awesome.
Well, that kind of brings up another topic we were talking about before the show, which is that, you have your Fortune 500 companies, and every company is a different industry. And you were saying some guys go after a Disney, a Marvel, a DC, whatever. But there are so many strings attached to that.
Yeah, there are. I mean, when you're dealing with, like, say you want to produce, Star Wars product or Marvel product or whatever, Nintendo product. There's a whole slew of, because you got to remember too, a lot of these properties have crossed over into entertainment in some
Yes, they
fashion.
have.
There's cartoons, there's video games, there's movies, there's whatever, right? So once Hollywood gets their hooks into a property, they can tie up stuff, especially when it comes to producing product. They can get their hooks into stuff, their tendrils, if you will. So it makes it almost impossible for you to kind of do anything with that property because
That's right.
because it's tied. It's tied up to some potential movie or some script or whatever, So
It does.
it is. I mean, so like with the stuff that we work with, even though Lock and Key's been optioned a couple different times for a movie and Chew's been optioned for a cartoon, like you just gotta. It's tricky. It's tricky.
It's
and
very
it's tough,
tricky.
and you gotta kind of, know
Well,
what you're
even
doing.
though, I was Spider-Woman for so many years, and when I opened up my talent agency, Marvel felt, well, because I was Spider-Woman, why don't I take the whole department of appearances?
Yep.
So now my office is filled with the Incredible Hulk, it's filled with this, it's filled with that, whatever. So that took me into the avenue of insurance on all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Okay, shipping was a major expense.
I know.
Shipping, protecting the costume while it was on the
Oh,
road.
yeah.
Making
Yep.
sure the shipper got it there. And then the person I would have to fill the costume or do it. But the important appearances were the real characters.
Yeah.
But the other appearances at a mall,
Yep.
we could fill those, and we had the costume.
Yep.
Lou Ferrigno
Yeah.
was at all the important ones.
Yep.
And then, of course, there were things I couldn't do. I had to get approval.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so that's going to take months. So you're
Yeah.
losing a booking. I made no money.
Yeah. It's.
I made very little money.
I think some people think and they look at like, okay, well, I think people develop ideas like, oh, well, that was made in China, so clearly some child produced this and
Right.
they pays on. That's not the case.
No, it's
all right?
not.
That's not the case. And I'm not saying that doesn't exist, right? That I'd be a fool to say that doesn't exist if you didn't do your homework and you went on like Alibaba or whatever and found like the cheapest place to have something done.
Yeah.
Oh well, Christ, I can do this for $7 a unit. Like you probably can.
You
And
probably can.
You probably can and have fun
Yeah.
when those come in and see how great they look.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to write a show for children with Dr. Doom
Yep.
and Spider-Man and all this. So, it took me, I had to do it quick.
Yep.
And it took me 3 months, and then you build a set. And
Yeah.
so my brilliant idea was to get an empty theater in Manhattan on the Upper West Side. And I went out on the street and offered free for
Yeah.
kids to come in and watch it to get the feedback.
Yep.
The energy, the time that went into it. Then shipping it after
Oh,
we
yeah.
got approval on the road.
Oh yeah.
We got approval for Marvel.
Yep.
Okay, now we've got to ship the set.
The whole set. Yeah, exactly.
Then train the actors in martial arts.
yeah.
Nothing happened quick.
No.
All my time was there and not over here.
Yeah. I mean,
Because I have a love for the comic book
Yes.
world. I have the love for the characters.
yeah, there is. That's the thing. Like even like when you're working with comics, and it's like you look at like even if you were to take a purely take all the love out of it and
Yeah.
just put a business head on. Like, okay, this comic book sells X amount of copies per month, and out of those readers, X amount of readers, only a percentage of those would actually buy merchandise.
Yeah.
All right, and out of that percentage, there's only a percentage of that will buy merchandise over a certain price point.
Right.
So there's all this stuff. So you really have to love comics because no one has.
There's
no Lamborghinis parked in anyone's driveway.
No,
you
there is not.
No, it's not. There isn't. And that's why we don't put all our eggs in one basket. We do plush, we do vinyl,
Yeah.
we do statues, we do metal. I think that's integral for us to kind of offer a spectrum of stuff, and we can have a book. We work with a book like Lock and Key that has, dozens upon dozens of keys, and we
Yeah.
can make those keys for people who want them And we can also do statuary, and we can do all kinds of different stuff, and we can work with a multitude of books. And some books, lend themselves to plush toys. Some
Yeah.
books lend themselves to metal pieces or statuary. It's all different. But if
It's
you
all
offer,
different.
if you offer like, if you become really good at half a dozen things, then that's kind of like, I don't want more than half a dozen. Half a dozen, I think, to me is okay.
Yeah.
I think you can get really good at half a dozen things. I don't think you can get really good at 20 things.
No, you can't.
I think something's going to fall through the cracks, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So I think if we can kind of focus on half a dozen things, you know, but there's a lot of back end stuff that people don't
Don't even realize the
right?
back end stuff.
Like when you have licensing lawyers. I mean,
Oh,
the licensing.
I've dealt with them.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do what I do without licensing lawyers,
No,
right?
no, you can't.
And it's like copyright lawyers, and it's like and they're expensive. That's just what it is. So when you're doing contracts, there's all these hidden stuff, all these hidden fees that kind of go into kind of doing what you do, you know. But it's like you can't not do it.
You can't not do it. I
Right?
mean, like Israel was saying, you know, you get a contract from a company, and it could be a contract from Marvel,
Sure.
but it doesn't apply to you. So you've got to have a lawyer. You've got to look through it because a lot of this will never happen.
Yeah. There's a lot when like a contract. Say you're working with a movie studio, right? And that you're working from a property from a movie. Say it's Jaws,
Yeah.
right? So even though what you're doing is very focused, right? Like you're going to make Jaws slippers. You're going to make slippers that look like sharks, right?
Yeah.
All right, and they're going to have the Jaws logo on the back, embroidered, whatever, right? Even though that's what you want to make, and it's very pointed and very very specific. You know, you're going to get a contract that is pages upon pages upon pages, long that are going to have stuff that doesn't really apply to what you're doing, and that's very arduous to kind of trudge through. It is. I mean,
It takes your time.
It takes your time. You got to make sure that there isn't some clause in that verbiage that like, oh, this actually will apply to me. It's a lot.
It's an awful lot. And you have to hire. I mean, the expenses that go out to be able to do this.
Yeah, when you do things, that's really kind of my beef with Etsy, if you will. Is like there's a lot of people on Etsy who make products, based on licensed characters, but they're not checking in with anybody. They're not checking in with Disney if Disney's okay with them making purses with Mickey Mouse on them. They're not checking with anyone because Disney would be like, no, we already have a purse manufacturer. We have 3 different purse manufacturers, and no, we don't like that style. We don't even want that out in the world. So there's people on Etsy in different places like that who are just kind of doing whatever they want to do and not having to contend with licensing, because licensing is huge because it's a relationship.
Right. I mean, I had gone in New York to the licensing show because you've got the Three Stooges.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Vegas is another big
Vegas is another big event.
Yeah, big licensing show. Yeah.
And you have all the properties there live walking around.
Yeah.
And it's a licensing show.
Yeah, that's what it is. They are there. It's everything from Scarecrow and Mrs. King, from Sanford and Sons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It all
goes back.
Yeah, it's all these different properties, and from stuff that's pertinent to stuff that like Knight Rider. Oh
yeah, I mean it's all there, and you're dealing with the licensing companies. I remember when I was doing a trade show, and Campbell Soup was there with the Campbell Soup kids.
Yep.
Okay, you could not take those Campbell Soup kids.
Oh yeah, no.
Oh no.
Oh, that's their mascot.
That's it.
That's
I mean, there's so many laws and things that.
There is, and there's kind of like this weird. I think people think that I think people like on Etsy like they develop like this Robin Hood frame of mind where it's like, well, the big guys aren't going to miss the few extra dollars that they're missing. And it's like, well, it's really not about...
That's the point.
It's not about the big guys
No.
not getting royalties, because what it's really about, and this is where it kind of hits home for me, is that there are guys out there like me who are doing it the right way, all right? And who are going through all the motions and jumping through all the hoops that the owners of the property want you to jump through to work with them, right? So we're doing what we have to do. We're doing things the right way, you know, and that comes with a whole host of costs and everything, right? From lawyers to everything. So when you're just to go rogue and say, well, I'm just going to make it anyway. I don't care. I'm not going to try to track down license. Well, they're going to come after me for the $2,000, $5,000 I make annually. It's like, well, what you're doing is you're taking away from people who would purchase something that was licensed, because some people don't care that if it's licensed. Some people don't care that it's licensed at all. Some people just want the Mickey Mouse purse. They don't care if that's, oh, here's the licensed purse. Well, the licensed purse is so much more expensive. It's expensive because because that person did it the right way, and they had all these fees, all that back end stuff that kind of goes into it to kind of doing it right.
I mean, the public or people out there trying to do this do not realize what's behind.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think so.
No.
You know, and it's really not their job to do to kind of worry about that either. That's kind of our job. But
they're out there and they're making a product.
Yes, but the people who decide just I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, I don't know. Like, quite frankly, I can make just about anything. All right, I
believe
can.
that.
And I'm not. It's not like a boastful thing.
No.
But our plush is amazing. Our statues are great. Our metal, we're known for how amazing our metal is. You know, so I could take any property I want and make a wonderful product from it. You know, if I decided, you know, that, like, well, the laws and ethics don't apply to me. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Now,
I guess I look at Etsy as Port Royal for IP pirates.
Yeah, well, it really is. It's right out there.
Yeah, it really is. It's intellectual property pirates. Piracy is what it is, and that's how I view it. And Etsy is just a safe harbor. It's Port Royal.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a safe harbor to kind of do that stuff. And I don't know why Etsy doesn't be like, you can't do this. You can't make Mickey Mouse purses. You don't have a license. But you know what that
reminds me of in New York on Canal Street?
Yes.
Go buy a Louis Vuitton bag.
Yeah, exactly.
But the way you know it's not a Louis Vuitton.
You bought it. Where?
On Canal Street.
That's right.
Plus, the L and the V is in the creases.
That's exactly,
And Louis Vuitton would never put the L and the V in the creases.
Yeah, I know.
But because somebody wants to carry that bag.
Yes.
It's exactly what you said a few minutes ago.
Yeah, because and that's the thing too, is like someone on Etsy or the Louis Vuitton, they're not buying a bag because, oh, you know what, I just need a bag and I just need something to put my stuff in, and this one's cheaper.
Yeah.
No, that's not.
No.
You're not buying why people are buying your bag over someone else's is because it has Mickey Mouse on it or has Louis Vuitton on it. That's what people are buying. People are buying because of the imagery, because it has Iron Man on it. All right, but I just can't make anything Iron Man. I have to go to Marvel and say, hey, I'd like to do this. Here's my plan. Here's my proposal. You know, here's look, can we work out a deal? And then you go the months, a lot of times, back and forth to kind of do this piece or this line of pieces, you know.
I worked with Mattel a lot when I was in New York. Barbie was the big thing, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I interviewed hundreds and hundreds of girls who could be Barbie.
Yeah.
And it would be at a trade show. And of course we had the clothes and we have the wigs and we have this and we have that. But everything had to be on target. And this girl could not go off to lunch and like throw on her jeans and whatever. She had to go hide.
Yeah.
Because the big thing with the children is that this is their icon. This is their character.
Yeah.
It's like seeing Spider-Man in half a costume.
Yeah.
You never do that.
Never. No, I hear you.
You know, you're never in half. You're in all or nothing. Now that brings me up a topic, which is a big thing, cosplay.
Yep.
Friend of ours, we have
that's right.
mutual, Jen.
Yep.
And she's been on the show.
Oh, great, awesome.
Jen's been on the show and she brought you up and we were talking about you. And that's a whole different world.
That is, and I love the whole cos, because, you know, there's a lot of cosplayers that, you know, if they're lock and key cosplayers, because we do prop replicas, we'll buy our keys and work them into their costumes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think with cosplay, you know, if you're gonna be a Disney princess, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna do the, you know, you're gonna make Cinderella's crown or whatever, or her glass slippers. You're gonna cast the resin. You're gonna do all this stuff. Go for it.
Yeah.
Go for it. If you want to make it for yourself or for your costume, go to town. I think
Exactly.
that's awesome. As long as you're not trying to sell it.
Yeah, don't
You know,
sell
as long as you're not trying to manufacture it and sell it and put a tag on it, like, oh, here's my Etsy shop where I sell my cosplay costume pieces, so you too could become a Cinderella. That you cross the line.
That's a whole different thing.
But I think I love the whole cosplay. I love the whole. I think it's great because really that's where everything I do and do now is derived from cosplay, if you will. For me as a little kid, I wouldn't dress up in full costumes. I didn't have any costumes, but but I would make Thor's hammer or Captain America's shield. I would make their weapons, the aspects of the costume for myself, just because they weren't available as a little kid.
Exactly.
So I would make back then anyway. So I made it myself, and that just kind of grew and kind of led to.
Jen, I had photos of all the costumes she had made, and she models them all.
Yeah, yeah.
And she sat here with pointy ears on.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just wanted to see if people would notice.
Did they?
Not a lot.
Yeah, right? Because when it's done so well, they just kind of blend
They
in.
stuck out of her hair because her hair is long.
Yeah.
And she would just sit here and talk to me. And we did a cool thing at the end of the show. We made her go and disappear.
Yeah.
Steve did some kind of magic
That's
in the
cool.
back.
That's cool.
And she is just into the cosplay. She travels all over.
Yeah.
And I had mentioned you, and she goes, I just met him.
We met up in Bangor.
Yeah.
She's awesome. She's awesome.
She really is. Now, another show that I have gotten hooked on is Face Off.
Oh,
On
is that the one?
Sci-Fi?
Yeah, that's the one where they do the prosthetics
Yes.
and stuff. I know that show's so good.
I am so hooked on Face Off.
I know it's a really strong show. I love the fact that they're pulling all this stuff together. Like they're sculpting full prosthetics.
Oh, they
Like,
are.
I mean, we're talking like in no time. Like it's amazing. It really is. It's amazing.
Because you have the panel, the judging panel, who are older, who have done many movies.
Yes.
And it's taken them days and weeks to make whatever.
That's right. And these guys have like 4 hours.
Right, they have 4 hours or 3 days.
Or whatever, to do a full prosthetic puppetry piece. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
It really is.
And there are a lot of talented people out there.
And that's the thing. There are so many talented people. What I do find, especially doing what I do, this era of digital sculpting.
Yeah.
Now and we work with a couple different sculptors that have made the leap from traditional sculpting to digital, and I think that's the best of both worlds because they know how things go together.
That's the idea.
Right. So they're not just making a 3D image, and it's like, well, you can't do that because that'll never ever produce. That's too thin and too flimsy, and that's going to be a breaking point, and that's always going to break, and it's going to be a problem.
Right.
So someone who has a traditional background in traditional sculpting and has, and it's two sets too, because there are people who are traditional sculptors, and I know a lot of really talented sculptors, but sculpting for production is a different animal.
Yeah.
All right, because you're not just sculpting just a piece, because this needs to be broken down from molds and reassembled. There's a big part of sculpting for production.
Oh, there is.
Right? And a lot of people don't know because because they're sculptors, so they're just going to make a piece like, well, okay, here it is. Like, well, that's impossible to reproduce because it's not broken down, it's not keyed, all the stuff that goes into it. So the best guys that we work with, the most talented guys are the guys who come from that background of traditional sculpting. They know how things go together. They know how to key. They know how to break down a sculpt, so that can carry over into the digital world. But the digital world really opens the door to a lot of people who see things like I do in 3 dimensions, but may not have the tactile ability, really, to kind of put it together with their hands, or know what materials to use to build.
That would work with that.
Exactly, because there's sculpts that I use, like, I need steel here. I need to use steel for this piece because it's a long run and it's pretty thin. So this can't be clay. It's not going to work. So I need to use steel here. I can mill some aluminum or whatever. And when I'm fabricating a piece, when a program like ZBrush, a digital program, it can all you just create this shape,
But see, you come from the old school, from the beginning, because I feel that, like photography, if you didn't know photography with using the darkroom and the shadowing and learn all of that,
Yep.
and I know there's a couple places around here who do teach that,
Yep.
which makes you much better in,
I think so.
because
Yeah.
what
Because
you're looking for.
I'll say this. Out of all the professions, out of all the people I know working in different industries, I know more photographers than I know anything, right?
Yeah.
And I say that because a lot of people have cameras, and some have really nice cameras.
They do.
And thus they're a photographer. But I know a handful of people who are photographers.
Yeah.
Right? That have the eye, that know light. They know how to manipulate light.
They know how to, and that's the key.
That is.
You need to know your lighting. You need to know how to
diffuse it. You need to know,
Yeah.
like, to bounce it, to do whatever you need to
Right.
really display. I have my friend Jose is really good at. He's a great photographer. He's a wonderful photographer. But he's wonderful at product shots. He's really, really good. My friend Shane is another wonderful photographer.
Yeah.
And he's really great at a lot of things, but like he doesn't have like the equipment per se that like my friend Jose has, because
Yeah.
Jose's done this for years and years and years.
Right.
Done catalog shots for a bunch of different companies, so
That's a different kind of photography.
it is. So it's like, I'm not saying that both couldn't do what each others are doing, but like sometimes it boils down to simple equipment. Like this person has his equipment set up and he has a studio and it's quick and it's
Exactly.
easy.
The overhead lights, the
overhead
shadow,
lights,
the-
and like
Yeah.
bouncing the light off here to kind of make sure the underarm isn't too shaded or whatever. But Shane has done some amazing photography
Yeah.
with the keys for comic book covers.
And that's so important because that's going to sell the product.
Yes, right, exactly. So Shane will go out into the field. Shane will take the key and put it on the rocky coast and take this amazingly beautiful photograph. It's just incredible.
Well, I
But
cringe. I cringe, and I shouldn't. I just look the other way. People who pick up a digital camera.
Yeah, and then,
I mean, they can. Well, this isn't going to be right. I can't
Yeah,
stand Photoshop. Because all my models, when I had my talent agency, would send me these gorgeous, wonderful photos. I'd get tons of mail,
Yeah.
and I'd go, "You're not that pretty. I
Yeah,
can tell
yeah,
you're not
yeah.
that good looking.
yeah, your airbrush.
I'm going to call you in," and they'd walk in, and I'd go, "Is this this is
What
not?"
is this?
Yeah.
What is this?
So I have really developed a wall against.
Yeah,
I mean, I might lighten and darken and contrast and crop.
Sure.
That's it.
Yeah, I look at Photoshop as like an ace up the sleeve, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of it. So you can't pull it out too early.
No.
Right? So you can't take a crappy photograph and like, I'll fix it in Photoshop. No. No. Because it's still a crappy photograph.
Right.
Right? No, you need to take an amazing photograph, and if you need to lightly tweak or change, that's what Photoshop is for.
Thoroughly.
Photoshop is for fine tuning. It's not for big overhauls.
Oh,
You know?
no. Oh, I'll take away this mole. I'll do this, do
Yeah.
that.
No,
it
it's
just,
not. It's not. It's not what it's for. And you can't depend on it as that big a crutch.
No.
You're like
But that's all they know.
now.
Now.
You're right, because it's become so ingrained.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of photographers, just because they have a camera, they're a photographer, and it's like, well.
Well,
yeah.
But before we run out of time, what I want to show the audience is this little surprise that Israel is doing, and I think it's just adorable. Will you look at this little, what's this called, a onesie?
Yeah, it's a little onesie.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're calling it the Skelton Crew Collection, and it's based on an idea that I had, and we work with my friend who's a comic book artist, C.P. Wilson III, who's an amazing artist. I mean, he does stuff with Joe Hill, does stuff with IDW. He's drawn everything from Ninja Turtles to horror comic books, but he's amazing, and so we riffed off some.
Look at this little T-shirt.
We kind of did a play off of some classic Pooh kind of esque drawings, like with Pooh on the balloon with bees. So we developed this little vampire character, and he's had this balloon with the bats.
Cool.
And we have a bunch of other designs too that we've kind of yet to kind of put in motion. But yeah, we're calling it the Skelton Crew Collection, and who knows where it'll go.
It's adorable, though. I mean, this is such a great idea.
Well, I look at stuff like what would I want to put my boys in? It's like I don't my boys aren't going to be sporting Winnie the Pooh, but they're going to be sporting a little vampire.
A little vampire,
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah, exactly. And we also, well, another thing we do is for every piece we sell from the line, there's a nonprofit in Lewiston that for young single moms. And so if someone buys a T-shirt, we donate a T-shirt to that organization.
That's great.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like it's just little stuff. It's the little stuff.
It's the little stuff. I mean, you can do continuous things if you do little stuff.
Yeah.
You do the big stuff, you're going to do it once a year.
Yeah, but I think it's just but even like we'll donate toys and stuff like that. Some of our plush toys and stuff. And it's just the little acts. Like I think. I don't know.
It's important. It's the little ones. I mean.
Yeah, kids are pretty near and dear to my heart. It's like
I know.
I got two little guys, so it's like, they're my world, really.
Of course they are.
So
of course.
I mean,
it's in your line of work, my line of work, and whatever. It's just doing the things you can do.
Yeah.
And you do it in steps, and you don't it took me a long time to learn this. So.
Yeah.
Little grasshopper.
I'll take it. I don't ever turn my nose up at advice, ever.
No, I mean, you just can't overwhelm and I will become paralyzed if I overwhelm.
Well, exactly, right? So like you reach a point where you feel hopeless.
Yeah.
Right? Like this fire that I could contain is now spread all over the place, and I don't know which needs my attention the most.
You're out of control.
That's right, right? I don't want to reach that point.
No,
no. That's not where I want to be.
No.
That's why I kind of will pick half a dozen things to become really good at.
Yeah.
I think that's one way of not developing to this huge thing.
That's the wise way to do it.
Another way is to only work with properties we love.
Yeah.
I mean, and that way they're getting the attention of that they deserve. I mean, and that's kind of it. So yeah, I mean, but it's easy. But it's real easy to kind of like.
Oh, it is.
I'd kind of like to do that, or yeah, I think I'd kind of like to do that. I say no, not a lot, but pretty regularly.
Well, you have to. I mean, I opened a little business up here with summer rentals.
Yep.
And I kept saying, I don't want to get big.
Yeah.
I want it simple.
Yep.
I want to pay my bills, make people happy, and have a good vacation.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine says, oh, well, you're going to have to hire other staff, whatever. And I'm going, no, no, because I've been there. I've done it.
Yes. Yeah. That's the thing. Like when you have a crew or a staff, is it all another whole, just even doing the books, right?
Oh, I had two people in my office one time that if the sun wasn't out, my day was hell.
Oh, yeah. Like
the moody people.
Oh, yes. Work. Yeah. That's one of those things where it's like, quite frankly, that's the hardest part,
right? That's the hardest part.
That's the hardest part is finding people who are cheerful and driven, and kind of can keep themselves in a good headspace, They're
hard to find.
They really are.
Far and few between.
Yeah, there are a lot of miserable people out there.
Oh,
yeah.
And they thrive in it.
Yes, they do. It is, and they love to find someone else who is miserable or close,
because I'm going to make you more miserable.
Just to bring them down.
I know.
Yeah, I used to be a distribution supervisor years ago, and I had a pretty good sized crew. And we had offsite warehouses. You know, there was a lot of stuff kind of going on. But it's amazing. I've always found it amazing. I'd call them a cancer, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It's like when you have an employee that's so negative and has such a negative impact on the rest of your crew, are using up a lot of your personal resources to try to
Oh, I know.
coach that person to be a better person, a better employee, to bring more to the table. Sometimes, and I'm not saying like that you can't coach and be a herding dog to this person and keep them in check. Like, hey, you're getting kind of negative.
A lot of work.
It's a lot of work. And to get to that person to a place where they're a positive, all right? Some people are so far gone that you're better off just cutting them free.
Right.
Right?
Because you can't put the energy in it.
You can't put the energy into it, and they're going to be miserable. Nothing you're going to do, because they have to own it at some point. They have to own, you're miserable because you're miserable. It's nothing, that's not me. It's not
No.
the job. It's not your coworkers. It's you.
And if you bring them up,
That's right.
you've got to stay there to keep
That's
them
right.
up.
That's a lot of times. But that's yeah, right. So it's a lot of work. You know.
I had one girl in my office. I mean, this was like the busiest time in my office. I had Marvel account, and I'm busy, and I'm shipping them this. And I had this one girl who would take photos that came into the office and cut the eyes out and glue them to her computer. And then I had another girl who had a voodoo doll in her drawer.
Yeah.
And a framed photo of Charles Manson. Okay, so now I'm busy. I'm not noticing this stuff. And one day I thought, well, you know, I'm going to go in on a Saturday and clean the office. And all of a sudden I see all these eyes on the computer.
Yeah.
And something told me to open the drawer, and I'm going, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's just
Well, that's New York, right? So I luckily I've never had to run into someone who cuts the eyes out of anything.
Well, I said to her the next day, I said, talent, come in here. Why did you do this?
Yeah.
Well, I know you're not going to want the photos. Instead of throwing it away, I just...
Cut the eyes out. I don't know. Everyone is different. I've really kind of experienced. Oh, I till now I'd say the gamut. I take that back. But yeah, I've experienced some super positive people.
Oh yeah.
I've experienced some no joke. Some of the people that I used to work with are still some of my closest friends now.
Yeah.
You know. And that's really what it is, you know. And there are some people who are so negative that there's kind of like, really, you're always going to be negative.
You're always going to be negative.
Own it. Just be you. And I hope that you've realized that it's not a very fruitful life that you're planning on living.
Yeah.
You know, because you're going to find fault with everything.
With everything. And everyone and whatever is.
Yeah, and they're the common denominator, right?
They are.
That's the thing. Is like, okay, you're always unhappy regardless of whatever the situation, wherever you're working, the situation, whatever. So you're the common denominator. You're the one who's broken, and I don't like to throw that term around.
I don't either.
But you're the one who's miserable. All right, it's not this job, it's not this employer, it's not these coworkers, because this is. And I have friends who like bebop from job to job to job, who are always unhappy, and it's always, oh, this place was awful. This
were awful to
coworkers,
me. They were
awful to
this.
me. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, okay, there's some point that you got to kind of stop and reflect. Like, oh, maybe it's not the situation.
Well, you and I would do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting close on time, but I want to bring up
Yep.
Comic-Con in Boston. You're going for a
yes,
day.
Yes, I am. I'm going down Friday.
Okay. I'm going Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday is the big day. Friday is obviously big too, but it's not Saturday. Saturday is
gonna
very
be crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what I did was, a dear friend of mine has a daughter, and I loaned one of my Spider-Woman costumes
Oh, that's cool.
to her.
Yeah. Oh, so she's gonna wear it to the
She's
con?
going to wear it. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, that's gonna be amazing.
That is going to be.
That's gonna be amazing.
Because if everybody will see her.
Yes.
But if they realize that's the original costume.
Yeah, the original costume from those events, from all that stuff.
So, I didn't think about it because I told her, I said, well, you can borrow my costume. And so she put it on, and it was like nobody's ever been in that costume before but me. And it was like,
I know, it's gonna feel kind of
And
weird.
she looks good in it, and I'm thinking, oh, and then I start thinking, when she starts walking down that aisle, and people start asking her, because I had 2 costumes.
Yes.
The one I sold,
Yeah,
because that had in labels,
yeah,
and all the comic books went with that,
Yeah.
and everything went with that.
yeah,
But this one didn't have the label, and I always had a backup costume.
yeah.
So now she's going to wear it. So this is going to be interesting what's going to happen.
That's cool. That's
I don't
awesome.
think they realize, and I just did recently.
I tell you, when growing up, I never went to any comic cons.
No, I
and we,
didn't either.
And we always grew up rurally, so there
Yeah.
was no exposure. I think I saw maybe Spider-Man once, growing up. But
Oh, we got 'em.
but I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved the whole that's kind of that whole initial cosplay, that whole electric company Spider-Man coming in, all that stuff was like, oh, this could be real. This could be real, and that's really the trigger for me. That was a catalyst for me personally.
I know,
you know,
absolutely.
to kind of do what I do. It's pretty intense. It's pretty
Oh,
incredible.
it's. I love having you on my show because the energy we do and we've experienced the same things.
yeah,
We
definitely.
know the world. We love the comic book world.
Oh, it is. It is.
but we
It's
got to
amazing.
end.
I know.
I know. We
Next
got
time.
beeped.
I
Steve
know.
beeped us.
On to the next though.
So you'll come back again?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, it's great having you here. It
Oh,
really,
thanks
really
for having
is.
me. No, I appreciate it. Yeah,
You
no,
know,
definitely
and-
we'll. We got some other stuff kind of brewing. We got
Okay.
we got so many irons in the fire right now. It's amazing.
All right.
We got
So
a lot
stay
of stuff.
tuned
Awesome.
to the next. So enjoy the rest of your day or your evening, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.